Dr. Paul King, and I'm presenting now the part 2 in the review of Dr. Henry's book on A.B. Simpson and the evangelical movement, and this is a review of Dr. Ballitch'S E13 podcast review of Henry. And again, we're doing this as a peer review of the Junia Daughters section of Daryn Henry's book, and refer back to the prior PowerPoint video before watching this, because this goes in sync with the prior video. This is a literary critique, fact-checking and correcting authorship, misattributions, and false claims and conclusions regarding A.B. Simpson's view of women in ministry. This is not debating the pros and cons of women in ministry. This is just dealing with verifiable facts and doing it with academic historical vigor to make sure that we know what is factually true and what is factually false before we actually get into any debates about issues. Here is a list of the clarifications that listed in the prior video, and agreeing with Dr. Ballitch's on the need for a high academic level of historical rigor. And so I'm presenting these reviews like I would a doctoral dissertation defense or a peer review. And I do appreciate and respect the hard work of young scholars like Dr. Daryn Henry and Dr. Ballitch, and hope that this is contributing to refining their research and writing process to avoid these unintentional misattributions and research inaccuracies as we find here. And if Dr. Henry or Dr. Ballitch or anyone else finds a documented factual error that I have made, I want to know about it and correct it as well. And following Luke to know the exact truth about the things that you've been taught. I've already mentioned that this is not a debate of theological interpretation. It's also important to understand that since these errors were claimed and promulgated publicly in books and podcasts, the corrections warrant public notice and transparency as well. The areas of agreement with Dr. Ballitch's review of Dr. Henry's book, agree. You can look these over yourself. I'm just going through this quickly to try to keep this to about a half an hour. So I've already shared these things, so I will go on to the next slide. Henry's research of Simpson's view of women in ministry was reaffirmed Ballitch's own beliefs, he said. He said, one of the things I found with Henry's treatment is it just reaffirmed what I think is true. But the fact is, however, that Henry's treatment was clearly invalidated and discredited of both what Henry and Ballitch thought was true, so it invalidates what they have presented. And Dr. Ballitch acknowledges his beliefs regarding Simpson's view are based on what he's read and has been exposed to thus far, and he claims he's done a fair amount of looking and digging. And as a result, he concludes that there's very little historical work done on the issue of women in ministry, titling and roles, and all of that. And we'll take a look at that in just a few minutes. Henry's claims, to back up, were based on two major authorship attributions, discrediting his claims. He, first of all, claimed that a March 24, 1900 article that Simpson was tongue-tied and flummoxed and had about the troublesome text on ministry and women issues in 1 Corinthians 14:34 and 1 Timothy 2:11 and 12. But Henry misidentified a tongue-tied questioner in a Q&A column as Simpson when it was not in fact Simpson. Simpson answered the questioner. It was Simpson was not tongue-tied. He was not flummoxed. He was the one who was giving the answers to the person who was tongue-tied and flummoxed. The second authorship misattribution that Henry had was in February 5th, 1916 article in which he cited references claiming to be from an article written in the Alliance Weekly by Simpson opposing women in formal ministry, but in fact were written by a different author. These misattributions we have already seen in the prior video, and PowerPoint disproved Dr. Henry's and Dr. Ballitch's claims that Simpson maintained the same views of women in ministry throughout his life. And what we'll see as the claims that Dr. Ballitch made, many of them were based on the same things that Dr. Henry had claimed, and so it's a bit repetitious in that. We'll try not to do too much repetition, but there's also some other areas in which Dr. Ballitch kind of speculates on his own as well. And this is what Ballitch had said. He, based on his fair amount of looking and digging and finding little historical work and finding that Henry's section on women did not match the level of historical rigor that he desired, he nonetheless felt like he gleaned enough to express certainty to claim this paragraph. So Simpson would clearly and throughout his whole life hold together the idea that an elder is a pastor is an overseer. Those are synonymous terms for the same office. You don't find him saying anything else. What you do find him doing is, as his ministry matured and evolved, was a desire to take the gospel to the nations and to mobilize women and stay true to Scripture. Now that element is true of what he's saying there. So there's a difference between what Simpson would allow and what he would partner with and what he would actually condone himself. We'll find that is not so true. Yes, there were women preachers, there were women evangelists, they would come to his pulpit, but that's a different question than whether he thought they should be a pastor. Well, we'll question that as well. By the time you get to the end of his life, it's kind of like his final comments on it. Well, let's just take a look. Go through these quickly. Dr. Ballitch's claim number one, so Simpson would clearly and throughout his whole life hold together the ideas. An elder is a pastor, is an overseer. Those are synonymous terms for the same office. You don't find him saying anything else. Well, the fact-finding verdict of this is false. And of course, I'm putting together a paper that will document all of this fully, probably about 40 pages. The facts are that Simpson and the Alliance gradually moved to no set order of ecclesiology. This was an open question. All those fully documented facts you will find in Anointed Women 2. And so I refer you to that document. Fact one, we all agree that Simpson in his early years viewed the three positions as synonymous. But Dr. Ballitch appears to tie Simpson's early 1890 statements of synonymity with Henry's misattributions to Simpson. But we find out that's not true, and so it disqualifies really Ballitch's thoughts on this. Fact three, It's based on his the misattribution, the false premise of the misattribution. There really is no other evidence. And moving on to fact 4, George Partington, Semitic scholar, PhD, is a First Alliance theologian, fashioned the Alliance theological hermeneutic for church polity that we will hear throughout. No definite or specific form of church government. Simpson published this in 1897, and this became the basis of what the Alliance theological hermeneutic was. The Acts and the Apostles lay down no definite specific form of church government. Priesthood of believers is clearly taught, but no authority for the elaborate ecclesiastical system that has grown up in modern times. Then we have Simpson's modification, stage 2, and if you will look at in Anointed Women 2, I have a whole section dealing with those 7 modifications in stage 2, which was around 1895 to 1905. Simpson softens his tone. He says that these are probably domestic. It's not dealing with the official offices, although he says it might mean that it could be, but he's softening his language in this. Here's a chart that gives some of the basic differences between early, middle, and maturing Simpson. You can look at that on your own. Simpson's key policy: God's methods in matters of outward form are flexible enough to allow for exceptions and adjustments. Again, fact 6, he no longer opposed women being ordained when he welcomed in 1899 Reverend Mary Mullen, an ordained Alliance United Brethren pastor, evangelist, and missionary, into the Alliance, and retaining her ordination and giving her that title in the weekly. Even when she served as an officer, she was of the Alliance. She was known as Reverend Mary Mullen. This wasn't hidden. This wasn't poo-pooed. This wasn't say, no, we don't believe this. She was well accepted, and other women who were ordained by other organizations also were accepted. The 1906, the Board of Managers, chaired by Simpson, declares church polity, roles of women an open question. 1908, Simpson says it's a safe rule to recognize all these various forms of church government as sufficiently scriptural that mean something close to an overseer, an elder, or pastor, but the form of government and constitution can be adjusted. Dr. J. Hudson Ballard, PhD, Board of Managers, it's difficult to build up one exclusive system of church government. The Alliance Weekly in 1916, the Holy Spirit did not give the apostles any form of church government. Well, there's much more here, and I'm not going to be able to go through all of these facts. You can read them. I'll have much more details on them in the paper that I produce and have all the documentation. Apart from the fact that this has all been that Dr. Ballitch'S claims are discredited because they're connected with, and he makes these based on what he has read, which is not that much, and which he has because he doesn't know about the historical works, and he doesn't seem to know about these. But if he will read Anointed Women 1 and 2 very carefully, you'll find that there is a lot of historical academic rigor in documenting hundreds of footnotes to discuss all of these different issues. Baelish claim number 3, by the time you get to the end of Simpson's life, it's kind of like his final comments. False. Simpson had no final comments on it. The 1916 article is misattributed, and he had nothing else to say. So there are no final comments on by Simpson. Ballitch'S claim number 4, you find that he seems open to letting individual churches decide. That's partially true and partially false. Here's the key difference. Where we are today, the CMA didn't have official mechanism. They were branches, credentials through other denominations. Well, this whole section's a potpourri of mixture of true and false. So I divided these up to A, B, and C, and D to avoid further confusion, to take them one at a time. The first statement, yes, it is true. The Simpson Alliance leadership, national and district, did let individual churches decide. No church was required to have a woman pastor or elder, but with district or national approval, a church could choose to have a pastor, senior, solo, associate, or elder, as long as a woman was under authority and not usurping authority. She was delegated authority. She could serve in whatever capacity. And then Dr. Bailey says, here's the key difference he thinks between Simpson and where we are today. The CMA did not have official mechanism for licensing and ordination, right? Wrong. This is false. The CMA did have official mechanism, which included training and studies for licensing and ordination by 1896. Early on and for decades, they were handled at the national level, and then by 1950 at the district level. By the 1920s, ordinations for overseas were done on the mission field. Branch leaders, both male and female, were licensed as official workers, and they could vote in the meetings. They were usually designated as superintendents, which technically has similar meaning as the biblical word for overseers. It's documented by Alliance historian John Salwin's Simpson scrapbook. He was one of my mentors. He was the main historian of the Alliance and really mentored me into a lot of this. I was asked to present this paper on the history and life of licensing and ordination and consecration in the Alliance, and so that was I did in 2016. These were branches, right? Well, partially true, partially false. Some were branches, some were called churches. Many branches became churches, and both male and female superintendents were called pastors retroactively, even going back into the 1890s. And you look at local church history records, you find this out. Credentials through other denominations, partially true, partially false. Actually, only a few had been credentialed through other denominations. The vast majority were credentialed in the Alliance. Some held dual credentials, and I give you some examples of those who had dual credentials here. There's some more here of dual credentials here at the top of the page there in the 4D. Then 5, but he is very clear, even toward the end of his life, that he is very uncomfortable with women serving in ordained ministry. And in his mind, you see all this in his writings. Ordained ministry is that office of elder, pastor, and overseer. Well, false. These claims are based on Henry's discredited misattributions, and there is no other evidence of that he is uncomfortable with women serving in ordained ministry. You don't see anything in his writings that says elder, pastor, overseer are the same in his later writings. It's nothing there. It's very clear, on the other hand, that Simpson said nothing of the kind toward the end of his life, and that he's nothing that he was uncomfortable. He welcomed ordained women. He did not insist on elder, overseer, pastor, and there were women elders even while Simpson was still living. All of this has full documentation. with all the footnotes, all the sources, and everything in Anointed Women 1 and 2. Claim number 6, I've done a fair amount of looking and digging. There's very little historical work done on the issue of women in ministry and titling and all of that. Well, the verdict again is false. Much historical work has been done. And here's the sampling of it. There was a lot of historical work that was done before I put together my 2 volumes of Anointed Women 1 and 2. And all of these were resources for me, plus many other things. Anita Bailey and Heritage Cameo. She herself was a pastor in the Alliance in the 30s. Women in Ministry by L.E. Maxwell. He was mentored by Simpson's associate, William C. Stevens. And he gives what really is the historic position of the Alliance, that leaders are usually men, but that God uses women as pastors as well. Then Barbara Howe, her Canadian, her book Forgotten Voices, Women in Ministry in the Christian Missionary Alliance in Canada, which is kind of puzzling why Dr. Henry didn't reference her book, because that's a very valuable source as well. Here we have personnel files and records, general council minutes that, for instance, 1962, the proposal to limit elders and general council was voted down. And you can read many of these on your own. So these are many different sources that we have. And now we look at the academic research, dissertations, theses, peer-reviewed papers. Dr. Leslie Andrews, Dr. Wendell Price, Ernest Wilson, who started his ministry in the Alliance in 1938, so he's well aware of the various things, and he did documented modifications of various teachings or practices in the Alliance, including the roles of women in ministry over the decades. Then a Canadian source as well, the Prairie Bible Institute, and my peer-reviewed article in the Wesleyan Theological Journal before my book came out. So, in summary, I acknowledge all the hard work and the time that both Dr. Henry and Dr. Ballitch have extended, but in spite of all of our diligent studies, we all have gaps in our knowledge, and we can miss crucial details that we need to acknowledge, need to revise, as in the case of Dr. Henry's book and Dr. Ballitch's reviews. And I'm not going to go back down through these. Again, this is not debating or discussing the pros and cons of these views. It's only presenting verifiable, documented facts, exposing literary research errors, false conclusions. The problem with misattributions is they become misrepresentations. And misrepresentations, even though they are unintentional and accidental and not realizing, they really misrepresent A.B. Simpson and his beliefs and bear false witness to what A.B. Simpson really believed. So I expressed in my original paper that you may know the exact truth. So fact-checking Andrew Ballitch's 19 Alliance podcast claimed that Simpson abandoned amillennialism for premillennialism was the first of this 3-part series, doing the fact-checking of Dr. Henry books and Dr. Ballitch's review. So it wasn't just the women in ministry issue here, but also Dr. Ballitch missed it, and I want to honor him this. He came to me at council and introduced himself, and he acknowledged that he had misspoke about Simpson abandoning amillennialism, and I appreciated his honesty and his admission to that, and I trust that he will as well in all of this. So, Dr. Ballitch, I wish you no ill. I speak to you as an elder brother and scholar, and having been a dissertation mentor professionally to more than 50 students over a quarter of a century, seeking to help you and Dr. Henry as a young scholar to research more carefully and fully, even as I have helped my own son, who has a PhD in philosophy and religion. And I would suggest to you, my younger brother in Christ and scholar, to, as I've had to learn through the years too, to exercise more of the academic and historical rigor that you desire of others, to be careful not to make assumptions, conclusions, or judgments when not knowing all the facts, to read carefully what other writings are saying so that you do not misquote them or misrepresent them, and especially when speaking publicly. Seek to be a Luke, investigating everything carefully, and that we might know the exact truth about the things we've taught. To readers, regardless of your beliefs or opinions in these issues, seek out the truth. What's the facts? Fact checks, seek documentation of whatever it is that's being taught. Fact check me as well. If someone can document where or how I have missed it, a factual error, I want to know it. Be Bereans, not being skeptical, but being diligent to seek out the truth and to analyze and evaluate from all sides and angles and frames of reference. And please share the facts and the truth with others. To all, we can disagree about theological issues, but let's get the facts straight before we do. And let's agree to disagree amicably in the spirit of the alliance and united in loving liberty, according to Romans 14. I speak shalom and blessing to everyone who reads this. God bless you.